Welcome to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, a quaint mountain village cherished by its 4,500 residents as a veritable paradise. Even the legendary John Denver sang its praises, immortalizing the region in his iconic anthem, "Take Me Home, Country Roads." Nestled at the confluence of the Ohio and Kanawha rivers, Point Pleasant boasts a serene setting that weaves together rich history with still affordable family homes. Today, Point Pleasant exudes a calm that perfectly matches its name, but this piece belies a tumultuous past. In the shadowy decade of the 1960s, the village was thrust into a nightmare, plagued by a series of frightening events, initially bizarre and disturbing, but ultimately spiraling into tragedy. The unsettling tale begins when several villagers find themselves face to face with a terrifying semi-human flying creature. These chilling eyewitness accounts catapult Point Pleasant into the spotlight, transforming it into one of the most sought-after destinations in the United States for enthusiasts of the paranormal. Even now, more than 45 years since the first sighting, this enigmatic phenomenon stands as one of the great unexplained mysteries, inviting both curiosity and dread as the whispers of the past echo through the quiet streets of this once idyllic town. What truly lurked in the shadows then, as new generations sift through the remnants of that uncanny era, the haunting question remains. Is the truth still hiding within the mists of Point Pleasant we kept the kids inside at night? There was no argument about it. Tales of the creature that haunted our village spread like wildfire, striking fear and intrigue into the hearts of even the bravest. Standing 6 to 7 feet tall, it loomed ominously, its gray form accompanied by a wingspan that reached an astonishing 10 to 12 feet. Some claimed it was a staggering 7 feet tall, with a wingspan that cast a shadow large enough to obscure the moon, and those eyes, those terrifying, glowing red eyes, could pierce through the thickest darkness. As the stories twisted and turned, whispers echoed of its 6-foot frame, adorned with vast wings and those unforgettable red eyes. They were the focal point of every account. The detail that held you captive, those eyes of vibrant red, that some insisted glowed with a strange luminescence. I don't know about that for certain. All I know is that it was a shade of red unlike anything I've ever seen before, an unearthly hue that lingered in my mind long after the tales were told. One fellow thought he'd encountered a helicopter. It was that immense. Another insisted it must have been an airplane. Yet others compared its silhouette to that of a giant moth, scribbling descriptions of its headless form, more reminiscent of unsettling moth-like features than human. The creature was known for its swift flight, appearing and vanishing in mere moments, leaving onlookers breathless and bewildered. My papa, a man of logic and reason, would dismiss it all as just a bird. He ventured into those woods often, but even he admitted to witnessing something unusual. And when he spoke, his steady voice made me believe him. It possessed a heel like ours, sturdy and human-like, leading to a long foot that ended in sharp claws. The creature had a neck similar to ours, cradling a round, peculiar head. I even caught a glimpse of 2 nostrils, like ours, that seemed to breathe in the very essence of the night. Whatever it was no ordinary animal. And as I lay awake in the darkness, my heart raced with the thrill of fear and fascination, wondering what truly lurked beyond the safety of our wall. In the tumultuous mid-1960s, a staggering 100 people stepped forward to declare they had witnessed the chilling figure, a half-man, half-moth creature adorned with enormous, glowing red eyes gliding menacingly through the skies of Point Pleasant. The accounts began to trickle in, but over the next 2 years they surged like an unstoppable tide, each testimony weaving a tapestry of terror that gripped the town in an iron fist of fear. Point Pleasant, as it exists today, is a bastion of simplicity, a quaint enclave where life flows at a gentle pace. Yet back then, it was even more unadorned, a place populated by hard-working Americans, steadfast farmers, and salt-of-the-earth folks who thrived under the weight of their labor. They lived as practical people, firmly grounded in the grips of reality, bound by the rhythms of long days spent toiling under the sun. Monsters and UFOs were foreign concepts to them, mere fables whispered among children at bedtime. Every Sunday, they would gather in their pews, sharing prayers and hymns, believing that the only supernatural forces lay within the walls of their cherished church. Yet, as the shadows lengthened and the whispers of the creature grew louder, the town's faith was eerily tested. How could the mundane coexist with the extraordinary? The clash of their steadfast beliefs against the unfathomable terror slowly unspooled the fabric of normalcy, leaving behind a haunting question. Could the things that haunt our dreams sometimes take flight right above our heads? This ominous phenomenon was not something anyone had planned. It materialized unexpectedly, leaving the townsfolk grappling for explanations that never came even now. After all these years, the mystery clings to Point Pleasant like a shadow. Elusive, defiant. The witnesses who dared to stare into the abyss of the creature's piercing red gaze emerged profoundly altered, haunted by experiences that shattered their sense of reality. Many became deeply traumatized, suffering nervous breakdowns and various mental health issues. They transformed into completely different people, shadows of their former selves. As the years rolled on, those who had encountered the Mothman were unable to unearth a satisfactory explanation for the harrowing events they had witnessed. Some insisted they received unexplained thought messages, chilling signals that foretold impending doom. Disturbingly, they also reported a disturbing physical toll. Swollen, red eyes manifested inexplicably, a symptom that seemed to echo the dread festering in their minds. Countless individuals who had brushed against this creature spoke of their eyes becoming inflamed, like vivid warning lights flaring up from within. What was this entity? Perhaps it was an angel of death, a harbinger foretelling catastrophe, a tangible manifestation of an omen meant to prepare the unsuspecting villagers for the horrors that lurked just beyond their understanding. Fear slithered its way through Point Pleasant, entwining itself around the hearts and minds of its residents. Some couldn't shake the unsettling conviction that the creature signaled calamity, a premonition etched in their collective psyche. As apprehension escalated, the town collectively held its breath, and soon enough, the whispers of impending disaster morphed into a horrific reality that would forever haunt their lives. When the bridge fell, it did so in a most unnatural fashion, rather than a simple, catastrophic collapse like the ones often portrayed in films or photographs. Eyewitnesses described a chilling sequence of events. The bridge tilted ominously to the right, defying logic as it rebounded upward before descending into the depths, a jarring motion that would etch itself into the minds of those who witnessed it. It was late evening on November 15th, 1966, a night forever inscribed in the annals of American history as the harbinger of a terrifying legend. Under the shroud of darkness, two young couples found themselves near the North Power Plant in an eerie locale famously dubbed the TNT area. This forsaken and desolate stretch of land had once served as an ammunition factory during World War II, earning its ominous moniker as a haunting reminder of the past. As they drove aimlessly around 11 o'clock at night, a sense of foreboding wrapped around them, tightening with every passing moment. Suddenly, they spotted what appeared to be a man standing menacingly in the road, blocking their path. A sense of dread washed over them as their eyes focused on the figure near the plant. What they thought was a very large man cloaked in dark garments, but it was those glaring red eyes that truly anchored their terror. Scarberry, one of the terrified witnesses, recalled the eyes glimmering like two ominous baseballs, disturbingly close together, just 2 inches apart. As panic unfurled within her, she then noticed the spectral outline of wings stirring behind the creature, their movements reminiscent of angelic wings, an unsettling juxtaposition against the nightmare unfolding before her. With fear coursing through their veins, they realized they were no longer mere observers. They had stumbled upon something unfathomable, perched on the precipice of legend, a moment that would forever alter the course of their lives and haunt the town of Point Pleasant. As the car inched closer, Scarberry watched in horror as the creature unfurled its wings with a suddenness that sent shivers down her spine. In a blur of motion, it darted into one of the vacant buildings of the North Power Plant, an unsettling anomaly that sent the ladies into a frenzy of fear. Adrenaline surged through them as they hit the gas, their hearts pounding as they glanced back only to find that the abomination was indeed pursuing them. In a moment that felt like a scene torn from a nightmare, The creature soared over the roof of their car, its shadow eclipsing the moonlight. They were racing home at breakneck speeds, 90 to 95 miles an hour, each second a battle against the palpable terror that gripped their hearts. Intermittently, they would feel the rush of air as it swept over the car again, only to vanish into the darkened night, an echo of dread lingering in its wake. The creature relentlessly chased them back to the city limits, a malevolent specter that thrived on their fear. Just as quickly as it had appeared, it vanished, leaving behind a trail of confusion and terror that would haunt them forever. They had ventured into the unknown, and now carried with them stories of a harrowing encounter that defied belief, a tale that would soon ripple through the town, igniting both curiosity and dread in every listening ear. Thoroughly terrified, the couple stumbled home, their hearts racing as they recounted their harrowing encounter. This incident ignited the spark that would ultimately birth the Mothman legend, one of America's creepiest urban myths. Almost immediately after their spine-chilling experience in the TNT area, they rushed to the sheriff's department. The deputies recognized the raw fear etched on their faces. There was no denying the panic that gripped them, and any notion that they were fabricating their tale was quickly dispelled. They sat down and meticulously recorded every detail of their terrifying account, and in response, the police initiated an investigation. Regular patrols through the area commenced soon after, determined to uncover the truth behind the chilling sightings. This all unfolded on November 15th, and the very next day, the dread deepened when Marcella Bennett and her family encountered the being themselves at their home in the TNT area. Her corroborating eyewitness account sent ripples of concern throughout the community, drawing attention and skepticism in equal measure. I once found myself asking my sister about that night, yearning for details I had never fully grasped. "Marcella, what did it really look like?" I pressed, longing for even a glimpse of the chilling entity. She paused, gazing into the distance as she recalled, "You know, Carolyn, we were just getting out of the car, chatting back and forth, blissfully unaware. Suddenly I heard a sound, something like, 'Shush.'" Her voice trembled as she described the moment. We turned around to look, and there it was, trying to get through the doors, massive doors meant for trucks and tanks. Her brow furrowed as she questioned, "But the doors weren't big enough. How did he get out?" With a glimmer of fear in her eyes, she answered, "It went sideways, squeezed through, and then it flew right above us." She recounted that moment in sharp detail when I looked up and saw those enormous red eyes staring down at us. We were out of there in an instant. Yet even as she spoke, she confessed, "I can't tell you what the rest of it looked like. I just remember those eyes. The mere thought of them sent shivers down my spine as I realized the terrifying grip this mystery held over our lives." You could trace the timeline through November, and the sightings surged with unsettling intensity. One after another, terrified residents came forward, recounting their encounters gradually. The police department began to take the phenomenon more serious. The accumulation of numerous official reports marked a critical turning point for the town, shifting the tide of disbelief. As the tales multiplied, the residents of Point Pleasant couldn't ignore the mounting evidence any longer. The once dismissed whispers evolved into a collective fear. Something was indeed lurking near the abandoned munitions plant. Something otherworldly, something that posed a potential threat. The creature was no longer just an abstract idea. It took form, and it was given a name. The name Mothman emerged like an incantation during early press conferences, attributed to a sharp-witted news reporter observing the frenzy surrounding the sightings. People often wonder, how did the name Mothman come about at the time? In the mid-60s, I was just a child, wide-eyed and enthralled by the Batman TV series and the accompanying comic book adventures. Within those pages, there existed a character called Mothman, and as onlookers described the beast with its moth-like wings and piercing red eyes, the moniker seamlessly wedged itself into the local lexicon. Yet, in the quieter corners of the community, where superstitions mingled with childhood memories, many still referred to it as the Big Bird, a simpler name that belied the chilling fear that shadowed their existence. The legend of the Mothman had begun, intertwining with the lives of Point Pleasant's residents, transforming the tranquil streets into a treacherous labyrinth of uncertainty, where every shadow could conceal the creature that watched from the darkness. Whenever the Mothman first emerged from the shadows, it dominated every corner of our news landscape. Headlines blared from newspapers in bold print, while local radio stations buzzed with updates and tales of the terrifying sightings. Television news brought the story into living rooms, and word-of-mouth rumors spread like wildfire. Everyone was talking about it. It was different, an unfathomable piece of reality that shook the very core of our small-town existence. Parents kept their children indoors at night, vigilant against a darkness that bore the weight of the unknown. One particularly gripping newspaper account described a colossal 6-foot bird with a massive wingspan and those unmistakable red eyes, stalking cars through the eerie expanse of the TNT area. As panic mingled with curiosity, a flood of people flocked to witness this monstrous creature for themselves, fueling the legend's explosive growth. News channels soon seized upon the frenzy, and before long, Point Pleasant was a hub of activity, buzzing with visitors, including the late author John Keel. John Keel immersed himself in the peculiar phenomenon, dedicating months, if not years, to unraveling its mysteries. His passion for the extraordinary led him to interpret the strange occurrences as premonitions. In 2002, his groundbreaking work, The Mothman Prophecies, was brought to the silver screen, cementing the creature's place in popular culture. Keel, an expert on extraterrestrials and UFOs, published his book in 1975, meticulously documenting his extensive research and theories about the Mothman. He posited that this enigmatic being might be of alien origin, and wherever the Mothman lingered, an unsettling difference hung in the air. The palpable fear surrounding the creature stemmed from the innate human instinct to recoil from what we cannot comprehend. Locals felt the pulse of trepidation surge as they grappled with a presence they could neither communicate with nor fully understand. Despite no direct harm coming to anyone, there remained a specter of anxiety hanging over them. A single animal had been found, a coyote perhaps, leaving behind a fracture in the fabric of safety. With each treacherous encounter, uncertainty churned within the community, sowing seeds of unease as folks pondered the intentions of the elusive creature that now haunted their lives. During the height of the Mothman sightings in Point Pleasant, schools adopted a pervasive sense of caution. Some children were kept indoors during recess as fearful parents and teachers grappled with the unknown. The consensus, if this creature were indeed a massive bird, it could swoop down from the heavens and snatch away an unsuspecting child. Paranoia tightened its grip on the community, leaving parents in a constant state of vigilance as they navigated their children's safety amid the darkening shadows of uncertainty. Among the locations where numerous sightings occurred was the North Power Plant, infamously known to locals as the Birdhouse. It became a gathering point for brave souls hoping to catch a glimpse of the elusive Mothman. Sadly, this once iconic structure was dismantled in the early 90s, deemed a health hazard, a loss felt acutely within the community, who viewed it as a potential landmark steeped in the lore of their hometown town. We would often venture out to those haunting grounds, drawn by the allure of the unknown, our curiosity piqued by countless tales. But I can't quite say what we'd have done if we found him. The thrill of discovery danced hand in hand with unspent dread. I often wished I could shout, "Yes, this is what it looks like," to give shape to the fear and fascination that cloaked our community. Yet, even in our youthful bravado, there was a palpable unease, a tacit understanding that Carlos, our steadfast friend, would never join us on such ghostly expeditions. He wasn't about to confront the mysterious entity lurking in the shadows while we were there, his own caution reflecting the very fear which had gripped Point Pleasant in its unforgiving grasp. Everyone yearns for a glimpse of the Mothman, whether they come as humans, animals, or even as interdimensional beings. The divide between skeptics and believers runs deep, yet the urban legend flourishes, sprouting questions that refuse to be silenced. Where did this creature originate? Why did it choose the abandoned munitions depot as its haunting ground? What unfolds next only thickens the haze of mystery surrounding Point Pleasant. The residents, accustomed to witnessing peculiar apparitions, found themselves grappling with something far more fearsome, an enigma that defied logic, known as the Mothman. Yet, The terror did not stop there. Strange occurrences began to multiply between 1966 and 67. People reported bizarre lights flickering in the night sky, leading to an unsettling UFO connection that entwined itself with the already eerie atmosphere of the town, compounding the strangeness that had settled over Point Pleasant like a fog. I confess, I was skeptical. My sister and I often made trips to Buffalo, and on those excursions we would emerge into the open night, eyes alight with wonder, spotting those beautiful lights twinkling overhead. "Well, the UFOs are out tonight," we would joke, dismissing the phenomenon as mere whimsy. But that skepticism crumbled when one night, a ship, an actual UFO, landed in my brother's backyard. He described it as the brightest thing he had ever laid eyes on, so blindingly luminous, one could hardly gaze directly at it. Without a sound, it lifted off and disappeared into the night, vanishing as silently as it had arrived. That moment shattered my disbelief, leaving me grasping for explanations in a world that suddenly felt warped and fraught with the uncanny. The Mothman and the bizarre lights were no longer mere tales. They were now woven into the fabric of reality, questions clawing at the edges of my mind, longing for answers that seemed forever out of reach. UFOs, Mothman, and enigmatic lights dancing across the night skies over Point Pleasant stirred a rising tide of anxiety among the villagers. Just when the atmosphere couldn't grow any more tense, events took a bizarre twist, this time unfolding in the glaring light of day. As reports of the Mothman and UFO sightings surged, residents began to catch sight of the elusive so-called men in black. Picture them, dressed in the classic dark suits, complete with black hats and sunglasses, walking among us like specters of dread. They stalked the streets, wielding an air of intimidation, whispering warnings, "Don't talk about this." Their origins became a matter of speculation. Were they government agents, law enforcement, or perhaps beings from another realm entirely? The villagers exchanged wary glances, their hearts racing with unease. I remember clearly the unsettling sight of these men in black loitering on the sidewalks beneath the midday sun. When I went to the bank for change up the street, there they would be, standing there with empty gazes, as if they were watching our every move. Some witnesses began to voice their fears, proclaiming, "Hey, these people have been coming to our doors, probing us with questions and warning us to keep quiet." The very thought sent shivers down my spine. The idea that the enigma surrounding the Mothman had drawn otherworldly men into our lives, casting long shadows over the shaky fabric of our reality. The mystery deepened, leaving us all on edge, questioning not just what we had seen, but who else might be watching from the darkness. The local newspaper reporter, Mary Hare, recounted her unsettling experiences. These strangers would enter her office unannounced, their identities shrouded in mystery. They refrained from revealing who they were, but were insistent, almost forceful, in their demands that she not report any details of the bizarre occurrences to the newspaper or the media. This led to growing anxiety among the townsfolk. A dark cloud loomed over the community as they speculated about the true agenda of these so-called men in black. One thing was clear: they were far from pleased about anyone discussing the UFOs or Mothman sightings, heightening the sense of fear that gripped Point Pleasant. The men in black lingered in Point Pleasant throughout the strange phenomena that enveloped the town, their presence both unsettling and ominous. Who were they really? And what brought them to our doorstep? Those questions hung in the air, unanswered and heavy with foreboding. Despite the passing years, the mystery of their purpose remains intact, leaving a lingering uncertainty that continues to haunt the collective consciousness of the community. As whispers of the unknown swirl around the troubled remnants of an extraordinary chapter in our history, my brother was eager to venture out to the TNT area to search for the Mothman. We had just heard about it that day in school, and curiosity electrified the air between us. We hadn't been driving for more than 2 or 3 blocks when, out of the corner of his eye, my brother spotted something looming beside the car on my side, just outside the driver's window. Panic seized him, and he slammed on the brakes, causing the car to veer slightly sideways in the road. In that heart-stopping instant, the creature halted mid-motion, then leaped onto the hood of our car as if defying gravity itself. Time seemed to freeze. It was as if we were suspended in a surreal limbo that felt like, who could tell? 5 seconds, 5 minutes, Or perhaps an eternity it locked its piercing gaze on us through the windshield, reflecting a mixture of curiosity and something more primal. In that electrifying moment, we were caught in a silent exchange, our eyes wide with fear and disbelief, our breaths caught in our throats, as we confronted the very essence of the unknown. After the creature vanished into the night, my brother turned the car around, muscles taut with adrenaline, and we sped straight to the sheriff's department in Point Pleasant. We had to share our encounter, to unburden ourselves of the shock that clung to us like a second skin. Though when we returned to the site, the very next day, the atmosphere had shifted drastically. Soldiers had cordoned off all public access to the former munitions plant, transforming the once familiar landscape into an ominous fortress. As we approached the area, we saw them, military personnel stationed at strategic points, engaged in hushed conversations among themselves, clad in dark suits that felt utterly out of place. The tension was palpable. One of them approached our car, the authority radiating from him like a wall. He pressed his hands against the glass, and his voice was cold and unyielding. "You were told to leave. Now leave." Residents watched the scene unfold with growing concern, unease brewing in the depths of their minds. This wasn't just a casual operation. The military presence indicated something far more serious was afoot. What were they searching for? What had transpired that compelled them to stake their claim so fiercely? The questions multiplied like shadows, yet remained unanswered, each layer of mystery deepening the anxious atmosphere that had settled over Point Pleasant like a thick fog. Everyone felt it, the chilling realization that something extraordinary lay just beneath the surface, waiting to be unearthed. In one of John Keel's books, he delves into what he refers to as one of his Mothman prophecies, discussing the concept of window areas, specific pockets of land around the globe that seem to be hotspots for paranormal activity. I can't help but feel that Point Pleasant embodies such a phenomenon. Throughout this extraordinary period, several individuals, including Keel himself, began receiving cryptic prophecies regarding future events. Some materialized, while others faded away like whispers in the wind. Strangely enough, there were unsettling phone calls too, featuring disembodied voices delivering these foreboding messages, a haunting experience that sent shivers down many spines in the community. I firmly believe there was indeed a creature, a tangible presence that roamed our skies. Yet, I am not convinced it was of extraterrestrial origin. Many in the town clung to that notion, perhaps stemming from the limited worldview of a small town in the 60s, where the glitz and technology of modern life were sparse. The intrigue of these stories provided both excitement and terror, igniting imaginations and stirring primal fears. And fear, as we all know, can elicit all types of responses, not just anxiety, but also an intense desire for understanding in the face of the unknown. The residents of this once quiet village began to dig into local Native American history and legends, seeking any threads of explanation for the strange occurrences that unfolded around them. A certain darkness took root as whispers circulated, suggesting that the turmoil might trace back to an ancient Indian curse cast upon Point Pleasant by none other than Chief Cornstalk. The story is a tragic one. Chief Cornstalk and his son were brutally murdered in a land dispute with settlers, and legend has it that with his dying breath, he cursed the town for the next 200 years, a chilling notion that sent ripples of unease through the community. Many held fast to this belief, recounting tales of Chief Cornstalk, whose existence is grounded in fact alongside the reality of his son's violent end. But whether or not he truly unleashed that curse upon Point Pleasant remains shrouded in uncertainty, adding yet another layer to the swirling mystery that had captured the townsfolk's imagination. The flickering specters of the past mingled with the present, weaving an intricate tapestry of fear, folklore, and the unexplainable, as residents grappled with the idea that perhaps the shadows of history were haunting them still. Naturally, every strange event that transpired became fodder for speculation. If we had a wreck, it was attributed to either Cornstalk's lingering curse or the shadow of the Mothman. A fire broke out, or there was an unexpected power outage, and the whispers would once again link it primarily to the Mothman. Amidst this maelstrom of fear and fascination, I found myself pondering the creature's true nature. I believe it represents something yet to be discovered, or perhaps it once existed and has since perished, a product of the natural world, not a supernatural omen. The reality is that while the supernatural narrative holds a certain romantic elegance, it remains elusive and difficult to substantiate. Meanwhile, the residents of Point Pleasant sift through the threads of their experiences, trying desperately to connect the dots and make sense of the bizarre happenings swirling around them. Each new incident deepens the mystery, fostering a palpable tension in the air, as they wrestle with their fears and the enigma that has entrenched itself in their lives. No one could have foreseen the whirlwind of chaos that would erupt in November of 1966. As the Mothman sightings escalated, they were accompanied by a surge of UFO activity and the looming presence of the men in black, all unfolding in a disconcerting synchrony. It was as if the very fabric of reality had begun to fray, and in the midst of this unsettling upheaval, an ominous aura permeated the town. Residents reported a creeping sensation in their minds, an unshakable intuition warning them that something truly catastrophic was on the horizon. They began to experience strange dreams, visions of shadowy figures lurking, figures that appeared to float ominously in the water. These bizarre nocturnal images created an undercurrent of disquiet, yet many dismissed them as merely odd flights of fancy, chalking it up to the chaotic energy swirling in their lives. However, beneath the surface of casual dismissal, the collective anxiety began to fester, intertwining with the mounting real-world events. Each new sighting, each flickering light on the horizon serving as a harbinger of what lay ahead on December 15, 1967, a chilling tragedy unfolded, a moment forever etched in the collective memory of Point Pleasant. The Silver Bridge, a 40-year-old structure that stood proudly in downtown, collapsed that fateful Friday evening during the rush hour, resulting in the horrendous loss of 46 lives. In the blink of an eye, the town transformed from a quiet community into the center of a devastating catastrophe, drawing attention far beyond the bizarre Mothman sightings that had captivated the imagination of its residents. The eerie timing of the Mothman and UFO activity surrounding this disaster sent ripples of speculation through the community. Many sought to draw connections, pondering whether there was a sinister linkage between the foreboding occurrences and their tragic fate. The air was thick with sorrow and confusion. This was not just an event on the periphery. It struck a nerve, as we knew most of those lost on the bridges. Among them were the parents of the mayor and a little girl from my classroom who had been on that bridge with her family. As the reality of our loss sank in, the threads of fear, grief, and superstition wove themselves tighter around our hearts, creating a tapestry of collective trauma. The town's harrowing fate seemed to underscore the very tales we had been discussing in hushed tones, a chilling reminder that sometimes the eerie enigma of the unknown might be intertwined with our very existence. In the days leading up to the bridge's catastrophic fall, some residents reported spotting a large bird soaring back and forth across the river, its shadow hauntingly gliding above the water. Others claimed to have witnessed men in black scaling the bridge, their ominous figures adding an unsettling layer to the already surreal atmosphere. The veracity of these sightings remained shrouded in uncertainty, but the testimonies flowed in, each person eager to share their experiences, as if grasping at threads of a shared nightmare. This phenomenon can be likened to a controlled group consciousness, a shared perception engulfing the community, where one individual reports witnessing something extraordinary, and soon, others follow suit, validating and amplifying the original claim. It becomes a palpable reality among us. I saw it too once the idea takes hold. It morphs into a kind of hysteria. In a small town, such convergence of experience spirals into a collective truth. I saw it. You saw it. Its real residents cling to this shared conviction, and in many ways, it transforms into a near religious experience, binding them together in the face of the inexplicable, each individual unwittingly participating in a narrative woven with threads of fear, wonder, and an undeniable sense of the unknown. Another layer to this phenomenon lies in the belief system that emerges around extraordinary events. Once one becomes deeply entrenched in a belief, whether in something genuine or simply a misunderstanding, it can linger for years, taking root in the psyche. Even an event that may not have transpired as reported can exert a haunting power, lingering for 40, 50 years or more. Those vivid memories often hold the same weight, recalled with the clarity and intensity of something terrifying and captivating. Many of these individuals were not overwhelmed with excitement. Instead, they felt an abiding dread. Some became reclusive, avoiding the night as if darkness itself bore witness to their fears. They walked through their lives with an unsettling sense that something was always watching them, a persistent paranoia clinging to their thoughts. The unwanted attention from fellow townspeople only intensified their discomfort, as many viewed them as oddities, crazy or loony in their eye. This stigma further silenced their voices even today. Countless witnesses refused to discuss their experiences. They won't admit to any doubt about what they saw. It did happen. They insist, gazing into the distance as if the memory were a ghost. They may share that they saw it with their own eyes, but that's all they're willing to reveal, leaving the deeper truth cloaked in mystery. Jeff has always been captivated by strange phenomena, a fascination that took root in his childhood and blossomed into an all-consuming obsession with the enigma of the Mothman. Over the years, he painstakingly amassed enough evidence to fill his very own Mothman museum, transforming himself into a leading authority on the creature and the locations where it is most likely to be seen. His every encounter, every scrap of information, fueled his passion, weaving together a tapestry of intrigue and fear. These imposing structures have loomed over the landscape for well over 60 years, their presence relatively untouched by the passage of time. As you stand before them, the intricate details beckon you to come closer. You can venture beneath them, looking up into the shadows, and the atmosphere shifts dramatically, becoming eerie, especially when night falls and fog begins to creep in. They remain largely unchanged since World War II, a haunting reminder of an era long past. When the war concluded, everything was simply left as it was. Nothing was demolished or erased. The remnants of history now stand sentinel, casting long shadows that stir the imagination and quicken the pulse. During the fervent Mothman sightings, many residents speculated that whatever this creature was, it must have found a roost or made its home in the unnerving expanses of the TNT area. Whispers of its presence flooded the town, intertwining fear with curiosity as they all wondered about its hidden whereabouts. A year later, the collapse of the Silver Bridge sent shockwaves through the already precarious fabric of Point Pleasant. Though engineers provided plausible explanations for the disaster, pointing to structural weaknesses that had accumulated over 4 decades, doubts lingered in the air like a noxious fog. Some townsfolk drew grim connections between the catastrophe and unnatural causes, fervently insisting that the Mothman had a role in the bridge's tragic fall. The intertwining of the creature's legend with the very real loss felt like a terrifying affirmation of their worst fears, binding the two events in an ominous narrative that would haunt the community for years to come. In my view, the Silver Bridge fell due to a cracked eye-bar. There was one eye-bar, positioned just before the Ohio Tower, that succumbed to the wear and tear of time, and that critical failure led to the bridge's catastrophic collapse. Strangely enough, it was that very eye-bar that had held the entire structure together, a silent sentinel finally giving way under the strain. From a scientific or engineering perspective, the assessments conducted after the tragedy revealed a chilling truth. It was a miracle the bridge hadn't collapsed long before it stood as an outdated relic, badly in need of replacement, a fact firmly documented in the annals of engineering. The experts concluded that the inevitable failure had been lurking just beneath the surface, a ticking time bomb waiting for the right moment to unleash devastation upon the unsuspecting town. The fact that the 13th pin was the one to fail adds an eerie, supernatural layer to the tragedy, a tantalizing twist that feeds the urban legend and deepens the mystery surrounding those dark days. For some, the Mothman became a foreboding omen, a sinister harbinger of doom preceding the bridge's downfall. I admit, I can't trace the origins of that notion, but they seem to have taken root deeply within the community. In the 60s, waste disposal practices were notoriously poor, leading to gross neglect regarding the hazardous byproducts spewed forth from the TNT factory. Those toxic remnants seeped into the aquifer, the very source of our water supply, even if purification methods were in place, and likely eliminated many irritants and carcinogens. It's conceivable that traces slip through the cracks, upon which a hallucinogenic effect might take hold. Imagine if the ground had become saturated with some unknown pollutant, causing vivid hallucinations. In such a climate, you might even believe you encountered a physiological cryptid, seeing all sorts of otherworldly things lurking in the shadows of reality. What may seem completely ordinary to a biologist or an ornithologist can become a source of sheer terror for those of us who have never laid eyes on such creatures. I recognize there's a vast world of phenomena that lie beyond my comprehension, while I approach these claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. I refuse to discredit those who insist they've encountered the Mothman, as their fear is palpable and deeply rooted in their experiences. Many theories have emerged, some aimed at justifying, others at debunking the existence of the Mothman. One such perspective stems from an unofficial branch of science called cryptozoology. I firmly believe the creature finds its place within this realm. It embodies something domineering, a presence distinctly out of place in the natural order occasionally. Nature produces anomalies, enigmatic entities that shouldn't exist in our world. I have come to the unsettling conclusion that the Mothman is one such aberration, a reminder of the mysteries that lurk at the edges of our understanding. Numerous eyewitness descriptions and accounts of Mothman sightings have fueled speculation that the creature may be a thunderbird, or even a prehistoric bird resurrected from the past. I remember a conversation with one woman who astoundingly spotted it in broad daylight in the TNT area. She vividly described it as a colossal, prehistoric bird, its sheer size and strangeness leaving an indelible mark on her psyche. Some theorized that the Mothman might actually be a thunderbird, or another species long thought to be extinct. This mirrors the legendary tales of Bigfoot, or, in Florida, the elusive skunk ape, where devotees insist, yes, absolutely, it exists. We've seen it yet. The questions linger, gnawing at the edges of our curiosity. What exactly is this creature? Why haven't we managed to capture it? You would think such beings would leave behind some form of evidence, a trace, a footprint, or even a body. Anthropologists and archaeologists rely on empirical data to demarcate the boundary between folklore and myth. But without tangible proof, Mothman continues to flit between reality and legend. Tantalizingly elusive, another theory proposes that the Mothman could be the result of a radical mutation in a lifeform exposed to radiation. Imagine a world populated by more supernatural creatures, infusing our lives with an exhilarating mystique. Yet, in this instance, I lean toward the belief that it is simply a being that has existed, perhaps still exists, emerging intermittently from its hideout. It may have been mutated by the toxic environment of that particular area, an ecosystem corrupted and still suffering, even as the EPA struggles to cleanse the scars left behind. Sometimes one recalls those old monster B movies where creatures grow gigantic due to radiation exposure. While most instances of radiation lead only to death, every so often, it triggers bizarre alterations in DNA and growth patterns, impacting both plants and animals. After World War II, the aftermath revealed a tapestry of horrifying effects from radiation that transformed humans into haunting caricatures of their former selves. And nature wasn't exempt from this wrath. I think the possibilities are compelling, especially considering the aftermath of the Silver Bridge collapse. The community was thrust into a state of shock, grappling with the devastation of losing 46 lives in a single disaster. The worst bridge calamity in American history, a title it still holds. With so much turmoil enveloping them, the townsfolk found it hard to process all the chaos and attention directed at them. Yet, even years later, they continued to linger in the TNT area, chasing shadows of their memories and the inexplicable. It's difficult to believe that the book will ever close on the Mothman or whatever large avian figure might have haunted that space. The beauty of the Mothman legend lies in our perpetual quest for answers. The idea of this creature will persist as long as we breathe. It might indeed stem from the realms of the supernatural, one day presenting itself to astonish us with its raw existence. Then again, maybe it is an otherworldly life form, something I cannot completely discount. My personal inclination is to chalk it up to mere misidentification. Nevertheless, it remains an enthralling narrative. Just imagine if 20 years ago, someone had stepped forward with definitive proof, compelling documentation. Then the book would have been closed. We wouldn't be here, dissecting the enigma today. It would have faded into obscurity, quickly dismantled by the forestry department, becoming mere headlines fading into textbook lore. Instead, it thrives on the edge of our collective consciousness, eternally the monster we've come to know. Whether Mothman is fact or fiction, horror or hoax, the creature looms large over the daily life of Point Pleasant. Far from being a source of ridicule, the Mothman book and film have bestowed fame and fortune upon this quaint village nestled along the Ohio River. The cinematic portrayal catapulted Point Pleasant into the spotlight, forever marking it on the map of cultural legends. A pivotal moment in the film centers around the collapse of the bridge, a scene that resonates deeply with the townsfolk. Now, every time you mention being from Point Pleasant, the curious inquiries about the Mothman flood in. For many, watching the movie in town proved to be a tough endeavor. Witnessing that bridge fall on screen stirs up memories of tragedy, while the Mothman's scenes invoke an unsettling mix of fascination and fear. The essence of their reality is both haunting and captivating, intertwining with their collective identity as they wrestle with the legacy of the creature that haunts their past. When that movie debuted, the floodgates burst wide open, inundating the town with curious visitors eager to explore the site where history unfolded. I recognized in that moment that Point Pleasant would be irrevocably transformed. Whether you believe in the Mothman or not, the Mothman Festival has become our crowning glory, drawing in attendees from across the country around the globe. Stroll down Main Street, and you'll find it teeming with people from every corner of the earth. We've welcomed visitors from China, Australia, Japan, England, enthusiasts arriving from everywhere to immerse themselves in the Mothman Festival, a celebration that binds their intrigue and wonder with the town's unique legacy. After the film Dina Mothman Prophecies hit the screens, Jeff and Carolyn Harris conceived the idea of an annual festival to unite all those intrigued by the legend. One day, as I chatted with Carolyn, I suggested we might explore a Mothman festival or convention. This was in November 2002, just months after the movie's release, and the spark of excitement ignited within us. By October, we had made the decision to forge ahead, leaving us with just a month to prepare. We didn't advertise much or drum out media attention, yet somehow, 400 to 500 people turned up, propelled entirely by word of mouth. That spontaneous turnout became the catalyst for what is now the 12th year of the Mothman Festival. Every year, the festival morphs into a vibrant celebration, with speakers sharing their tales at the State Theater, entertainment lighting up Riverfront Park, and even karaoke contests adding a dash of spontaneity. We've hosted weightlifting competitions too, and an array of vendors line the streets, offering a treasure trove of souvenirs. A highlight of our gathering is the witness panel, where we compensate individuals to sit and address the crowd's burning questions. You can feel the anticipation in the air as people ask, "What did you see?" Their thirst for first-hand accounts is palpable. Every year, we strive to introduce something new, like the energetic 5K race and the delightful Mothman beauty pageant, each element further stitching the fabric of a legacy that continues to thrive. From the very beginning, the pageant has showcased a spectacular 10-foot-tall Mothman. Yes, you heard that right, and it's no exaggeration. At the Mothman Festival pageant, we introduce a segment known as Mothwear, where contestants don their best jeans and are encouraged to splash in a bit of green for flair. Occasionally, we even manage to secure wings for the participants, transforming them into otherworldly creatures of their own. The contestants often aspire to express their individuality, aiming to be stylish and upbeat, which makes for a vibrant atmosphere. They compete not only in evening gown segments, but also face off in on-stage question rounds that test their poise and charisma. Our judges typically seek out a contestant who embodies the spirit of the festival, someone who genuinely wishes to champion the Mothman Festival pageant, rather than merely clinching the crown and sash. We want someone who radiates a true passion for the festival and all its quirky magic, someone who can share its charm with the world. I entered the pageant in 2010, and to my surprise, it was incredibly enjoyable since I had never participated in a pageant before, leaving my nerves in tatters. My fascination with the Mothman had always been there, so I thought, why not give it a shot? To my utter astonishment, I won. It felt absolutely surreal. The experience itself was delightful. We even learned the iconic Mothman dance, which added to the fun. Remember, Mothman is not from Japan. He's a genuine American legend. People truly come from every corner of the globe. Literally, that's precisely why we proudly claim this as the world's only Mothman museum. Inside, you'll find an array of props, rare archives, and a treasure trove of John Keel memorabilia. We began modestly, opening just 2 or 3 days a week, but now we're bustling every day of the week. Our team possesses a wealth of knowledge, and curious visitors flock in, eager to ask questions. We showcase documentaries and other fascinating materials that draw them in. I find immense joy in being a tour guide, as it allows me to meet people from all walks of life. Taking them up to the TNT area is a thrill. I lead them through various sites in Point Pleasant, sharing the captivating stories I've collected over the years, tales from eyewitnesses themselves about their mysterious encounters with Mothman. Then we venture out to explore the igloos and witness the site of the first sighting. It's all incredibly entertaining, and I cherish every moment of it. Igloos are concrete bunkers that once housed ammunition during World War II, standing as silent sentinels of history. While there have never been any Mothman sightings reported within these igloos, they remain a fascinating part of the TNT area's legacy. As you can see, the walls are a formidable 4 feet thick, a stark reminder of their purpose. Many paranormal groups frequent the igloos, eagerly attempting to capture orbs and snap otherworldly photographs, making it a critical piece of Mothman lore that deserves deeper investigation. It's astonishing to remember that nearly 50 years have passed since Mothman and the Man in Black sent shivers through this little village in West Virginia. How things have transformed from being the town's worst nightmare. Mothman has morphed into a dream come true, blossoming into a symbol of pride and joy for the entire community. A creature like Mothman is simply mesmerizing. His presence invites comparisons to the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. Yet I believe ours is more thrilling. He appears everywhere, surrounded by countless tales that have irrevocably changed our town. One of the main attractions in downtown Point Pleasant is the world-famous Mothman statue. This iconic sculpture emerged just 2 or 3 years following the film's release, crafted by local artist Bob Roach, who specialized in stainless steel. Roach immersed himself in the stories of Mothman witnesses, channeling their accounts into his own interpretation of the legendary creature. Visitors from around the globe flocked to the statue, eager to capture a moment beside it. The unveiling ceremony was a tremendous surprise for all of us. It garnered national media attention, with CBS Sunday Morning covering the event. We had expected only a handful of locals and perhaps a couple of nearby news stations, but instead, we found ourselves on national television as the statue was revealed. The statue itself is a stunning piece of artwork, detailed and meticulously crafted. It stands as a striking centerpiece, a testament to the remarkable history that unfolded in this town, inviting everyone to learn about the legend of Mothman. Mothman is an integral part of Point Pleasant's history, but there are other fascinating chapters to uncover as well. We offer a Mothman tram that you can board right here in town, whisking you away to our various attractions, including the River Museum, the captivating murals tucked behind the Flood Wall, the Silver Bridge Memorial, and Fort Randall. The tram showcases the fact that we possess more than just Mothman lore. We have a rich tapestry of history and mystery waiting to be explored. Families converge from far and wide. Groups arrive, bus tours pull in, and even governors stop by to have their pictures taken with Mothman. It's as if a visit to Point Pleasant wouldn't be complete without that snapshot alongside the legend. I can hardly explain it, but they come every day, nearly all year long, rain, snow, or shine. There are always people clutching their cameras, capturing the moment with Mothman. It has become a phenomenon that seems improbable, yet it thrives here. I can't definitively assert whether Mothman is real, but the sheer volume of evidence suggesting otherwise is astounding. We wholeheartedly invite everyone to come visit. Allow us to guide you through the myriad attractions linked to this legend and let you draw your own conclusions. Mothman carries significant weight for many. He has truly put Point Pleasant on the map in recent years. People arrive driven by curiosity, eager to see what it's all about, and our statue stands proudly visible, beckoning them to discover the extraordinary mystery that lies beneath. We boast an abundance of American history here, rich with agricultural tales and, of course, a fascinating layer of paranormal history. But beyond that, we genuinely relish having visitors. Each one adds to the vibrant tapestry of our community. In Point Pleasant, everyone pulls together, engaging with one another in a warm, welcoming manner. You'll find locals gathered on Main Street, lounging in their rocking chairs, sharing stories with the newcomers who arrive. It's a wonderful invitation for visitors to explore, where they might stumble upon something unexpected that sparks their curiosity. Those captivated by Mothman will never cease to visit, that much we know, and we wholeheartedly embrace the diverse individuals who come to experience our town.